how to go about this one, not really a 1 year journey, but less than that, that is there ahead of them, how to streamline it, how to plan it, how to strategize it, and how to maximize the time that they have in hand. So we have our expert from my classroom here, Deepak Goyal. He's himself an IIT Delhi alumni. He secured rank 132 at his time when he was preparing for IIT JEE, and when he cleared IIT JEE, he went to IIT Delhi, took up computer science engineering CSE, and then went on to he grabbed a job in Alstom, Switzerland, worked there, and then came back to teach all the aspirants of IIT JEE and NEET. So, welcome on board, sir. Thank you so much for sparing your time today and being available here to answer all the queries that our students might have, and the anxiety that might uh, be there in their minds as to, and the clarity that they need in preparing themselves and strategizing their content.
Thank you,
Welcome.
ma'am. Thanks a lot for having me here. And definitely session के through यही कोशिश करेंगे कि जितने भी सारे points हैं we should discuss, and whatever crucial inputs are required for the students वो सारे हम एक एक करके discuss करें. So I think we have just segregated it based on certain questions. तो एक एक करके एक question discuss करते जाते हैं.
Yeah. So we have tried to cover most of the questions that generally जो सारे students हमारे खुद से भी पूछते आए हैं इतने सालों में, so that if apart from that if you have any queries, please feel free to put it in the chat so that we can take it up. So the first question that generally students ask is, what should be my preparation strategy if I'm targeting for JEE 2023? So students who are preparing for 2023 JEE, so sir, what would you say? आप क्या recommend करेंगे उनको इस time पे कैसे prepare
The
करना
thing
चाहिए?
is, we are already in August, September. अगर हम देखें तो मतलब we are already in October. Sorry, तो October के बाद October, November, December, January, almost 4-4.5 महीने हमारे पास बचे हैं. The first attempt expected है कि January end या at max February में तो definitely होने ही वाला है. तो we have around 4 months time in which students might be giving their pre-boards also. A lot of other things are also there, school practicals, XYZ, ये सब रहने वाला है. तो टाइम बहुत ज्यादा नहीं है. तो बेस्ट इस टाइम पे होना क्या चाहिए, व्हाट शुड बी आवर स्ट्रैटेजी इज, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, वंस वी स्टार्ट प्रिपेयरिंग, सबसे पहले हमें जो लास्ट 3-4 इयर्स में पेपर्स आए हैं सिंस द टाइम जेईई हैज बीन टेकन अप बाय एनटीए, वी शुड बेसिकली ट्राई टू टेक देम अप. कुछ प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस 2-3 दिन लगा के अच्छे से एनालाइज करने बहुत जरूरी है, because that will give you a real picture that what exactly you are preparing for. Because by now I think students would be in a phase where they would be ending their 12th syllabus. 12th खत्म हो रहा है, 11th खत्म हो चुका है पहले ही, 11th का no doubt revision pending है, पर syllabus को लेके, topics को लेके still we have a decent idea. पता है कि क्या पढ़ रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कि there is something completely new जिसका पता ही नहीं है. तो इसलिए टॉपिक्स दिमाग में है, काफी सारी चीजों का पता है. तो एक अच्छा टाइम है जहां पे 2-3 दिन अपने आपको पहले इन पेपर्स में डुबा के देखो, ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड what exactly has been asked in these papers, and based on that then formulate where exactly you stand. Then prepare a list of the chapters which are your strong points, where you are super confident कि हाँ ये तो अच्छा हो ही जाएगा. Then chapters where you think confidence है, थोड़ा बहुत 19-21 की gap है अभी, and then those chapters where you think कि कुछ नहीं होने वाला, मतलब I've given my best in 2 years, अब नहीं कुछ हो सकता. Since we have limited time, I would suggest get rid of those chapters which are your problem areas. Maximum students इस time पे यही गलती करते हैं. What they start doing is they start focusing on their weak areas. उनको लगता है कि अब 3 महीने रह गए हैं, लेसली जो चीजें नहीं हो रही है ना वो करते हैं. I don't think so. It is the right strategy. You don't have that much of time. If we can bring all those things into our recent memory, which are our strong points, और उतना भी अगर हम कर आए तो हम एग्जाम अच्छा कर लेंगे. So that is the reason I'm giving you this option that you should have complete 2 to 3 days of analysis of what NT has asked in last 3-4 attempts, ताकि तुम्हें पता चले कि जो तुम्हें आता है उसकी भी अच्छी खासी वेटेज है, और अगर उस वेटेज को अच्छे से संभाला जा सके तो we can definitely aim for good marks. So first thing would be immerse yourself deeply into the previous year questions for next 2 to 3 days. Then prepare a list of topics which are your strengths, which require a little bit of polishing, and then your weak areas. Weak areas को साइड कर दो, strengths और उस पे आ जाओ. Third point in strategy would be to basically divide the syllabus of revision in such a way कि end में हमें full syllabus test देने का अच्छा खासा मौका मिले. But it should be like कि at least last के 15 दिन में हम 2 टेस्ट रोज के देके 25 से 30 टेस्ट दे पाए. एनटीए की वेबसाइट पे बहुत सारे टेस्ट हैं. There are so many टेस्ट सीरीज that you people offer. myclassroom has a brilliant program in that also. तो बहुत सारी ऑप्शंस हैं टेस्ट के पर्सपेक्टिव से. 15-15 दिन के स्लॉट पे एक टेस्ट देते जा सकते हो अभी. बट एंड के 15 दिन इट शुड बी वेरी डेंस, pretty much packed with lot of tests so that कि जब पेपर में जाओ तो ऑटो पायलट मोड में जाओ. ऐसा लगे कि you have already gone through so many questions, so many things, you're auto tuned for that paper, और आंखों में नींद बंद करके वो पेपर हो जाए. So this is the way I think you should strategize. First, immerse into your old papers. Last 3-4 साल, इससे ज्यादा आगे जाने की भी जरूरत नहीं है.
3 to 4 years.
3 to 4 years. Second, divide your syllabus into your strengths, areas which can be improved, and your weak areas. वीक एरियाज को लॉकर में बंद करके रख दो, भूल जाओ, कुछ भी नहीं आता उसमें, तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. अब भी नहीं आएगा.
This is not the time for you to focus on your weak areas.
जो 2 सालों में नहीं हुआ वो 3 महीने में भी नहीं होने वाला. Then focus on those topics जो तुम्हारी strengths है. 15-15 दिन के एग्जाम के ड्यूरेशन पे एग्जाम देके सिलेबस तरीके से खत्म करो, और एंड के 15 दिन भर दो अपने आप को फुल सिलेबस टेस्ट से, so that you have so much muscle memory built which could actually help you in cracking these exams.
I'm just repeating the third point in English because we have South region audience. So the third point here that Deepak sir has mentioned is that, every 15 days you have to give a test, that, at an interval of 15 days, you're giving a test so that all your syllabus is covered in those part tests. And the last 15 days leg, you should be only giving tests and not covering much of content, just test and its analysis. I think, that is very important.
Exactly. So the main thing is whatever you have covered thoroughly in last 2 years, last 1.5 years, if you can bring all that into your recent memory and can revise them thoroughly, I think you can get whatever you aim for.
Right.
And instead of that, if you start focusing on your weak areas, because what exactly happens when you're attempting an exam, उस टाइम पे एक टॉपिक ने मान लो बहुत साल बहुत तंग किया है, वो आता ही नहीं है. अब वो एग्जाम में दूसरा तीसरा क्वेश्चन उस टॉपिक पे आ गया, तो डू यू थिंक सो in that exam pressure scenario you will attempt for that question which has already been your problem area for so many years? वो कभी नहीं होने वाला. वो हम एग्जाम में तो सवाल ही नहीं उठता उस क्वेश्चन को कभी कोशिश भी करेंगे सॉल्व करने की. तो जो क्वेश्चन पेपर में सॉल्व ही नहीं करना, उस पर एनर्जी अब क्या लगानी? पेपर में वो सॉल्व होगा तो अच्छे से आता है जो अभी आंखों के नीचे से बहुत बार निकल चुके हैं, जिसे लेके तुम नींद में भी कॉन्फिडेंट हो. तो ऑलवेज फोकस ऑन योर स्ट्रेंथ्स because these are the ones which can get converted into marks in your final papers. Weak areas will remain weak areas because they have already haunted you for significant period of time.
Right. Yes. So I think, now you know what you have to do for the rest of the time that you have. So we'll move on to the next question that we have. So should I prepare for first attempt or second attempt considering I'm lagging in my preparation? So there might be many students who are already contemplating, dropping in here or taking a second chance.
I think this year's JEE would be a special JEE exam because a lot of students who had backlogs due to COVID in last few years, I think they would have spent their COVID in their 11th also. So due to that, there's a huge problem ki backlogs ikathe ho chuke hain. Maybe 11th was not that thorough. No, you need to revise that. Maybe 12 started a bit late because school exams were delayed. So all these things have happened. Maybe 12 started JEE might not relent and they might keep the first attempt in January end or maybe JEE might not relent and they might keep the first attempt in first attempt देना चाहिए या नहीं देना चाहिए. I'll give you a very simple plain answer. First attempt देना चाहिए या नहीं देना चाहिए. बंद करके first attempt भरो और चैप्टर से कुछ ना करके. You should always give all the attempts. You should always actual exam can give you 100% in preparation actual from exam temperament perspective. 100%. In fact, what I suggest to my medical students also that they should aim for JEE mains paper, because once they'll sit in JEE mains paper, even though they would only know chemistry and physics, but they'll understand what exactly exam temperament is, how you have to conduct yourself, how you have to set your body clock, how you have to behave, what are the challenges you can face. All those nitty-gritties are basically taken care of.
And
तो
with no
हमें
stakes attached to
no
it.
stakes attached to it. So first attempt तो वैसे भी हमारी तो कोई उम्मीद ही नहीं है कि उसमें कुछ होने वाला है, तो जाके गोलियां चला दो, करो अपना बेस्ट, ठीक है ना? उससे फायदा क्या होगा? उससे ये होगा खुल जाओगे, समझ आ जाएगा कि हुआ निकल जाएगा, यही होता है पेपर, इससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं होता. So the reason you should give this first attempt is to get rid of this exam fear, so that you should know that this is what you are supposed to expect in a final paper. Attempt कोई miss नहीं करना. Never ever miss any attempt, even if you're only 10% prepared. Because वो तो वैसे भी zero था. Otherwise also we were not expecting anything out of that attempt. So just give it. Don't ever bother about the result, because anything better than zero is good.
I think you should give your 100% to this attempt at least, and then once the time
And even
is there,
suggest your medical friends to give these papers so that they are prepared mentally for the final NEET paper.
Let's move on to the next question here. So the next question is, I can comprehend the questions but unable to solve them in an exam. What can I do? I think 90% of the students face this problem.
But see, majority of the students go through this problem where they say, sir, class में समझ सब कुछ आता है, घर जाके जब खुद से solve करते हैं तो हो नहीं पाता. So I think it's pretty much the same problem here also. In that perspective, what I suggest, and I have even done it during my JEE paper preparation also, JEE Advanced, and at my time, I covered a lot of solved examples in my last 3 months. There is no shame in doing solved examples. Attempt a question for at max 2 to 3 minutes, at max 5 minutes, not beyond that, and then go for the solution. जितने solution देख सकते हो, जितना muscle memory build कर सकते हो, देखो, कोई problem नहीं है. You'll start understanding the methodology. You'll start understanding the procedure, how to basically go about the question. So this is the best way. Always, always, always try to attempt solved questions repeatedly and try to mimic those steps, try to learn from those steps. That is the only way forward. बिल्कुल इसमें 1% शर्म वाली कोई बात नहीं है. मैंने अपने टाइम पे जितने एंड में 3 महीने में मुझे जो हर टॉपिक का सॉल्व एग्जांपल दिखता था, मैं वो ही सॉल्व करता था. बिकॉज मुझे होता था कि इफ एनी अनसॉल्व्ड एग्जांपल, इफ आई गेट स्टक एंड इफ आई डोंट हैव दैट राइट सपोर्ट, देन इट विल बी अ प्रॉब्लम फॉर मी. उस केस में वो कॉन्फिडेंस लूज होगा, टाइम वेस्ट होगा, मेरी स्पीड खराब होगी, लॉट ऑफ अदर प्रॉब्लम्स वुड आल्सो कम इन. So it's always better, it's always advisable to just go for solved practice, only and only solved practice in these last months. Unsolved करना है, बीच में 15 दिन में एक पेपर दे दो, ठीक है ना? One paper in every 15 days is good enough to test your paper exam temperament also. And otherwise हमें हीरो नहीं बनना, हमें पेपर क्रैक करना है. तो उसके लिए more and more solved questions, more and more types of questions, and then you'll be mentally prepared, because somehow you'll start relating to those questions. To any student who faces any problem in problem solving, for those who find it difficult to solve questions by themselves, but they are able to understand, comprehend the question, they should start solving solved examples. This is the best way forward. Solved examples, only focusing on the topics which are your strength areas, are the way forward. That way, you will be covering every type of question that comes your way.
Wow, I think this is the very important tip. I don't think even, I think 50% of the students never ever get to see, realize this, that, how powerful solved examples can be. And we, think that agar hame solution mil gaya, how then it's spoon feeding or something. No, it really helps, because ultimately you need to know the solution in the exam.
But so simple cheez bolunga, what I have seen all over the years, like in my 13 years of teaching journey, what I have seen, students tend to spend a lot of time on theory. They keep on reading content again and again. नहीं समझ आया फिर theory पढ़ ली, नहीं समझ आया फिर theory पढ़ ली. कुछ नहीं होता, कभी नहीं होता. बच्चा कॉन्सेप्ट सीखता है प्रैक्टिकली उसे अप्लाई करने से. एप्लीकेशन में लिमिटेशन कहाँ पे आती है? व्हेन यू नो दैट कहीं रुक गए, स्टक हो गए, तो हमें कोई हेल्प नहीं मिलेगा. So the biggest concern that students face while attempting questions is that they are not able to get proper guidance how to basically go about the different steps. So there are so many good books, so many good sources for solved examples. So just focus on them. Try to learn each and every step. Try to solve those questions step by step and refer to those solved examples so that you start relating to these questions. जितना ये करोगे उतना कंफर्टेबल बनोगे और अपना खुद के सेल्फ हेल्प बनोगे. You'll be least dependent on the system, and you will be able to channelize your energy in a proper outcome.
I think a very important point here that has been covered now. So let's move on to the next question. So we have, what should be the preparation strategy for an average student to ASJ 2023?
First of all, this term average is pretty much overhyped, I would say. What exactly is average? There is nothing called average. It totally depends on how well you're able to understand the importance of exam temperament. When I basically discuss this thing with my students, I always tend to tell them that we're not preparing for 3 subjects, we're preparing for 4 subjects. कौन से 4 subjects के लिए prepare कर रहे हैं? Physics, chemistry, maths, and the 4th is exam temperament. And if the 4th subject is weak, the first 3 subjects would not be able to help you at all. तो चौथा सब्जेक्ट सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है, वो ही डिफाइन करता है कि एवरेज स्टूडेंट, अबव एवरेज स्टूडेंट या प्रॉपर स्टूडेंट. Most of the times I've seen that content gap is not that significant, but the exam handling part is beautifully managed by students who score well in the final exam. They know how to attack a paper. They have spent so much time analyzing on that particular aspect. You will be shocked to know, बच्चों, आज की डेट में हर स्पोर्ट्स में, अब तुम इमेजिन करो, कैन यू इमेजिन अ क्रिकेटर developing and establishing himself in a sports like cricket without having proper analysis being done on each and every outcome of the match? हर मैच के बाद विराट कोहली अपने एनालिस्ट के साथ बैठता है, अपनी स्ट्रेंथ्स, वीकनेसेस, हर एस्पेक्ट को व्यू करता है. ये बॉल आउटसाइड द ऑफ स्टंप मैंने टच की, बॉलर्स ये करते हैं. विराट कोहली को कहां पे बॉल करनी है, आउटसाइड ऑफ स्टंप करो, वो एज करके पीछे कैच दे देता है. ठीक है, तो दे वर्क इन एंड आउट, इतना मेंटल इनपुट उसमें जाता है. सो इन एवरी एस्पेक्ट ऑफ थिंग्स, बिजनेसेस में दिस इज हाउ इट इज डन. So this is a very important and highly underrated skills that students need to basically focus on. So first of all, exam temperament की importance को समझना है. उसके बाद की बाकी की strategy को हम discuss करते हैं. तो सबसे पहला टाइम हमें इस चीज को ध्यान में रखना है that we're not preparing for 3 subjects, we're preparing for 4 subjects. Now we will take up one subject at a time. First of all, what should be the strategy for physics? Physics में सबसे important aspect that you need to understand is majority of the students end up wasting a lot of time on mechanics and even topics like electrodynamics. No doubt they are heavy, but they're difficult also. Mechanics, electrodynamics are such topics where the questions can come from any micro topic also. And the variety of questions is so huge, to comprehensively cover that is not that easy. But that is why in my first question I said that you should analyze the old papers. Once you will see the physics old paper, you will see that fluid mechanics, waves, thermodynamics, optics, modern physics, these chapters cover more than 50% of the exam. And these chapters are straightaway question chapters where trick questions, thinking questions, deep concept questions are not frequently asked. The very straightforward questions being asked from these chapters, बहुत हद तक फॉर्मूला बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस होते हैं, सीधे सीधे से क्वेश्चंस होते हैं जिनमें दिमाग भी नहीं लगाना होता, और रिपीट बहुत होता है क्वेश्चन. अगर तुम देखो तो 10-12 साल के पेपर्स देख लोगे तो तुम्हें एक फील आने लग जाएगी कि 2012 के बाद के पेपर में देख लो, 10 साल में तुम्हें समझ आने लग जाएगी कॉन्सेप्ट 3-4 बार तो रिपीट हो रहा है हर कॉन्सेप्ट. और with NTA now it is even more probable with so many attempts and so many sets that they have to prepare. So that is why it is very important to understand that you have to basically focus on these chapters. Even if you're preparing from advanced perspective, you will see in JEE Advanced also, we feel that we need to give a lot of importance to mechanics and electrodynamics, but all these chapters, which are considered inferior to these two, I would say, great chapters of physics, cover more questions. They have more weightage. And questions are straightforward. दिमाग लगाना ही नहीं पड़ता, बहुत सीधे सीधे क्वेश्चंस आते हैं. और होता क्या है, कोचिंग्स में हर जगह पे 70% फोकस इन हेवी वेट चैप्टर्स पे लगता रहता है, और उन एंड वाले चैप्टर्स को कितनी बार छुड़वा ही देते हैं. मैंने बहुत सारी जगहों पे देखा है जहां पे 11th के एंड तक आते आते चैप्टर्स दम तोड़ देते हैं, और वहां पे थर्मोडायनामिक्स, वेव्स तो दे गो आउट ऑफ द पिक्चर. एंड सेम हैपेंस विद 12th आल्सो. तो मॉडर्न फिजिक्स, optics, ray optics, wave optics, all these chapters are highly scoring chapters. 11th के waves, thermodynamics, fluids, So straightforward questions, and that's why you need to focus on them. Then let's come to chemistry. What should be our strategy in chemistry? First of all, chemistry में Bible की तरह पढ़ो NCERT. A lot of people tend to ignore this. A lot of people think that NCERT is not important, but एक line, एक word में से question निकल के आता. So it's very important to focus on NCERT and also very important to focus on old papers. And then how you have to basically strategize yourself. Try to see patterns in the paper. Like if you're talking about JEE Advanced for that matter, chemistry में intramolecular aldol condensation पे भर के questions आते हैं. और दूसरे तीसरे साल repeat हो जाता है intramolecular aldol. ठीक है ना, Hoffman degradation उनकी one of the favorite reactions में से है. ठीक है, तो ये कुछ ऐसी reactions हैं जिन पे questions आने ही आने हैं. एक ऐसा टाइम आया था लेट 2000 में या 2010 के अराउंड, तो 6-7 साल में 5-6 बार बीटा कीटो एसिड की हीटिंग पे डीकार्बोक्सिलेशन पे क्वेश्चन आ रहा था. तो एक पैटर्न था क्वेश्चन में, सेम चीज है बहुत बार, मतलब 2007, 8, 9, 10 लगातार क्वेश्चन आया था, इवन जेई एडवांस से पेपर में भी. जेई मेंस में भी इसी तरह का सिमिलर सा पैटर्न हमें दिखता है. पर केमिस्ट्री पर्सपेक्टिव से वन थिंग दैट वी रियली नीड टू फोकस ऑन इज चैप्टर्स लाइक एनवायरमेंटल केमिस्ट्री, बायोमोलिक्यूल्स, केमिस्ट्री इन एवरीडे लाइफ. यहाँ से अब वेटेज क्वेश्चंस का बहुत ज्यादा है. So these chapters have become very important since the NT has taken over the JEE Mains exam. So they have started focusing a lot on these chapters. So structure-based questions, a lot of such questions are coming in. So always refer to the old papers in last 3-4 years, and then you'll get to know that what exactly has been the pattern. But they generally focus more on this. We tend to spend more time on like the famed chapters, GOC, mechanisms and all these things, electrochemistry, all these difficult chapters, ionic equilibrium, thermo. But you'll be shocked to know that chapters which are given low weightages like biomolecules, chemistry in everyday life, environmental chemistry, all these end chapters, they're getting a lot of importance these days. So we need to be very critical in choosing these things. And generally, इनमें टेढ़ा क्वेश्चन तो बनता ही नहीं है, because numerical क्वेश्चन तो आता ही नहीं है. स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड थ्योरेटिकल घिसे पिटे वही क्वेश्चन पूछते रहने हैं. ठीक है ना, तो बी वेरी थरो विद दैट. ठीक है ना, इनको अच्छे से करो और इनमें से तुम अच्छे नंबर निकाल के लेके आ सकते हो और इजीली निकाल के लेके आ सकते हो. एनसीईआरटी के आसपास घूमते रहते हैं, थोड़ा बहुत तुमने उन्हीं के राउंड का अच्छा क्वेश्चन प्रैक्टिस कर लिया, यू विल बी थरो विद इट. देन लेट्स फोकस ऑन द मैथ्स एस्पेक्ट आल्सो. मैथ्स में तो बच्चों हम एज फार एज जेईई एडवांस इज कंसर्न, हम हमेशा 3C फॉर्मूला बोलते हैं, कैलकुलस, कोऑर्डिनेट एंड कॉम्प्लेक्स. ठीक है ना, ये कॉम्प्लेक्स के अराउंड थोड़ा बहुत अलजेब्रा मिक्स करके अच्छा क्वेश्चन आ जाता है, ज्योमेट्रिकल पार्ट पे आ जाता है. बट फ्रॉम जेईई मेंस पर्सपेक्टिव आल्सो अगर हम देखें तो हमें 2 सेक्शन पे बहुत अच्छे से फोकस करना है, दैट इज कैलकुलस एंड कोऑर्डिनेट. ठीक है ना, इनमें से हेवी क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, ज्यादा आता है. और सबसे बड़ा एस्पेक्ट क्या होता है, जनरली कैलकुलस बच्चा अच्छा कर भी लेता है. एक तो स्कूल एग्जाम्स के चक्कर में तुम्हारा रिलेटिवली फ्रेश होगा, उससे बहुत ऊपर नीचे चीजें जाती ही नहीं है. बट व्हाट आई हैव सीन in last few years, maths have been always on the lengthier side. इस 2022 की बात करें तो जेईई मेंस, जेईई एडवांस दोनों में मैथ्स काफी हैवी आया था, काफी डिटेल में बहुत कुछ पूछा गया था, काफी सारी चीजें आई थी. तो थोड़ा लाइटली नहीं लेना है इसे, थोड़ा इसकी प्रिपरेशन डीप करनी है, अच्छी करनी है. और एक और चीज का ध्यान में रखना है कि अगर somehow you're not very thorough with maths, तो पेपर इस तरह से प्लान करो कि केमिस्ट्री फिजिक्स को फिर मैक्सिमाइज कर दो. जनरली उस केस में तुम कहीं ना कहीं मैथ्स में बिल्कुल लास्ट में पुश कर सकते हो टाइम, और केमिस्ट्री फिजिक्स को मैक्सिमाइज कर सकते हो. क्योंकि अगर लगता है कि मैथ्स में लंबे क्वेश्चंस आ रहे हैं, तुमसे नहीं हैंडल हो रहे और वो टाइम भी नहीं बचा है, तो केमिस्ट्री से स्कोरिंग है उसे पहले अंदर करो. फिजिक्स में दोस एंड चैप्टर्स आई सेड व्हिच आर स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड चैप्टर्स, उन पे फोकस करो, एंड देन you can focus on the easier chapters of maths also.
I think a very detailed analysis and discussion on, how you should go about each and every subject as well. So all the students who are listening to us, and all those who have joined us through YouTube channel or various other channels, social media channels, kindly take note of all these strategies, and you will definitely find them really handy going forward for your strategizing your preparation for the 4 months. So let's quickly move on to the next question now. And the next question is, what does it take to secure a rank under AIR 100 in JEE 2023? So is there any elixir there? Is there any Ramban, or is there any secret behind how you can secure?
I'll share my personal experience.
Yeah.
My JEE mains rank was 74 and JEE advanced rank was 138. Ma'am said 132, but it was 138.
138, yeah.
So I was like in advanced, in mains, I was able to crack under 100, and advanced also, I was pretty much all there. What I've seen from a top student's perspective, like if you want to aim for top 100 in JEE mains as well as JEE advanced, one very important aspect is speed tests. Should be very thorough with that. And what exactly is speed test? You have to basically challenge yourself with some unrealistic targets. Okay, I'll first try to explain it in Hindi and I'll come back to that in English also. जैसे फॉर एग्जाम्पल ऐसा कर सकते हो कि आपको पता है कि आपकी स्पीड है 30 मिनट में 10 क्वेश्चन करने की, तो अपने आपको 30 मिनट में 20 क्वेश्चन का टारगेट दो। पहले 30 मिनट में धक्के से 11 क्वेश्चन होंगे, 19 क्वेश्चन रह जाएंगे, 9 क्वेश्चन रह जाएंगे, तो अगले 30 मिनट में 20 + 9 29 क्वेश्चन करने हैं। तो उससे क्या हो जाएगा, टारगेट तो बढ़ गया, तो विल पुश योरसेल्फ। तो पुश करोगे तो फिर 11 से शायद 12-13 हो जाए। एंड अगर ये छोटे छोटे स्टिंट्स को मल्टीपल टाइम्स करते रहोगे तो एंड तक तुम अपने आप को कहीं ना कहीं खींच के 20-22 क्वेश्चन तक ले भी आओ। तो ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है, यू हैव टू स्टार्ट टाइमिंग योरसेल्फ। I'll come back to this again in English. So what exactly should be the strategy? If you know that your realistic speed is to cover 10 questions every 30 minutes, then try to push yourself beyond your limits by giving a target of unrealistic target of 20 questions per 30 minutes. So in your first attempt, you'll end up scoring maybe 11 to 12 questions only. But then in next 30 minutes, you have to basically cover up for that also. It will be 20 plus the remaining question from the first attempt. It will be roughly 29 questions to 28 questions in next 30 minutes. Again, because of the extra pressure, you might be able to push yourself more. So it will come up to maybe 12, 13 questions. And if you keep on repeating these small activities, these small targets again and again, after I would say a month's time, you'll come to that level where you'll actually start covering 20, 22 questions in those 30 minutes. This is very important, very important aspect that you have to push yourself. Students who are aiming for top ranks, what I've seen, they are able to complete their paper. And then the accuracy level is also very high. You're aiming for top 100 in JEE Mains, JEE Advanced, that means your success percentage has to be pretty much on the higher side. If I tell you about my case, in JEE Advanced, my total was 110 out of 180. At our time, it was a subjective paper, so it was roughly 62%. 2 marks more and I would have been 98, 97 All India rank. So 112 marks out of 180 is like what, 62, 63%. I knew around 70% of the paper, and out of that, 90% I was able to convert. So this is, and top ranker would have got 70, 72% only, around this time, this much only. So this is what you need to aim. You basically need to focus on the fact that you need to push yourself for that extra speed. Another aspect, फिर से मैं पहले हिंदी, firstly I'll explain in Hindi and then I'll come back to in English. सबसे दूसरा एस्पेक्ट ये हो जाता है कि फ्रॉम टॉप 100 रैंक पर्सपेक्टिव तुम किसी एक सब्जेक्ट को अपनी स्ट्रेंथ या किसी एक सब्जेक्ट को अपनी वीकनेस नहीं बना सकते। अगर टॉप 100 एम करना है तो तुम्हारे तीनों सब्जेक्ट्स एकदम क्रिस्पली डन होने चाहिए। विद जस्ट 2 सब्जेक्ट्स आई डोंट थिंक सो तुम टॉप 100 तक पहुंच पाओ। तो तीनों सब्जेक्ट्स को अच्छी वेटेज देनी पड़ेगी, बिकॉज टॉप 100 वाला बच्चा कहीं मार नहीं खाएगा। एक आधा सब्जेक्ट थोड़ा वीक रह सकता है, थोड़ा बहुत 19-21 का फर्क होगा, ज्यादा नहीं। अगर थोड़ा वीक रह गया तो वो 100 से 500 पुश होते पता नहीं चलेगा। तो यू हैव टू बेसिकली गिव वेटेज टू ऑल द 3 सब्जेक्ट्स। टॉप 100 के लिए तीनों को बहुत अच्छे से वेटेज देना है, तीनों अच्छे से खत्म करने हैं, बढ़िया से करने हैं। कोशिश करना है कि पेपर के अंदर केमिस्ट्री 35 से 40 मिनट में खत्म हो रही हो, फिजिक्स एट मैक्स 50 मिनट्स टू 1 आवर के बीच में, और वो 1.25 घंटे से 1.5 घंटे के बीच में मैथ्स का टाइम निकलना चाहिए। दिस इज हाउ यू शुड स्ट्रैटेजाइज, दिस इज हाउ यू शुड स्टार्ट प्रिपेयरिंग, and you have to give weightage to all 3 subjects. So I'll come back to that again. If you're aiming for top 100, you cannot leave any stone unturned. That means none of your subjects can be your weak areas. It cannot be the case that you can crack top 100 based on only 2 subjects. You have to focus on all 3 subjects. All 3 subjects have to be beautifully covered, and then the strategy should be 35 to 40 minutes for chemistry, 50 minutes to 1 hour for physics, and the remaining time should go to maths. This is how you should start practicing. You should start strategizing Whatever mock test you give, this is what you should be aiming for. And what I've seen, it's a battle of inches. You just have to basically be on your toes. छोटे छोटे inputs, छोटे छोटे points को पकड़ने की कोशिश करो. But always look out for those small points, because when you're aiming for top 100, margin for error is very small. So it cannot be the fact that you overlook certain chapter, you overlook certain concept, thinking that might not come, and it might be the case that in the exam day that particular question might come. So you cannot leave any stone unturned, because you're aiming for top 100 among so many students in the country. So you have to be flawless in your preparation. So two things: speed test, comprehensive coverage, and then planning in such a way that chemistry, physics, maths should be compartmentalized. एक पता हो कि इतना टाइम इनको देना.
Yeah, so balance, I think, is the key here. So as sir is very, clearly mentioned, especially if you're aiming for top 100 rank, to get into that bracket, you cannot.
I'll just take up one example also. If I recall my JEE mains advanced paper, हमारे टाइम पे सब्जेक्टिव पेपर था, तो पहला केमिस्ट्री था, फिर फिजिक्स था, फिर मैथ्स था. फिजिक्स मेरा इंडिया हाईएस्ट था स्कोर, आई थिंक. मैथ्स में भी टॉप 10 में था. केमिस्ट्री इज माय सब्जेक्ट, वो मैं बहुत स्ट्रांग था ऑर्गेनिक में, और जाते मैंने फर्स्ट 40-45 मिनट्स में ऑर्गेनिक के 1-2 क्वेश्चंस में थोड़ा सा अटक के टाइम वेस्ट कर दिया. तो समहाउ मैंने रिसेंट 1-1.5 महीने में ऑर्गेनिक रिवाइज नहीं किया हुआ था. तो वो एक क्वेश्चन ईथर के अराउंड आया था, अच्छा क्वेश्चन था, और वो कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ा फंस गया, और उसने मेरा टाइम खराब कर दिया, और वहां पे मेरा टॉप 50 से टॉप 150 में रैंक चला गया. तो I'll repeat that again. If I am able to recall what I did in my JEE Advanced, at my time, it used to be subjective papers. The first paper was chemistry, second was physics, third was maths. I think I scored India highest marks in physics. Maths also, I was in top 10. Chemistry, which was my strong area, there I made a blunder of focusing heavily on organic in my 30-40 minutes, first 30-40 minutes. And unfortunately, this was one area which I had not revised properly in last 1 month of my exam preparation. So a lot of things were not in my recent memory. So I got stuck with a question. It was around ethers. It was around some stability of carbocations. And due to that, I ended up wasting a lot of time, and that somehow pushed me from top 50 to top 150. So this is very important, that you have to basically be on your toes. You cannot take any subject lightly, and you have to strategize beautifully.
Very important, very important. So you also had a life, real life example here that Deepak sir has shared. So thank you, sir. I mean, I think that the I will just repeat again, speed test, one of the again very important.
This is an important question which has come up in the chat.
Yeah.
So can somebody score top 1,000 rank if they have only covered 30% of the syllabus of JEE Advanced so far? Answer is yes. To be honest, why not even top 500? JEE paper, advanced paper, is a very overhyped paper, I would say. As far as JEE mains is concerned and JEE advanced are concerned, if you would see the previous year questions, level of questions are pretty much the same. It's not like too far off. Preparation perspective, the biggest challenge is exam temperament. JEE advanced pushes you to the limit because there are so many different format type questions. Integer questions you cannot guess. The margin for error is very small. More than one questions, again, you have to be on your toes because there's so many options, and you have to evaluate each and every option. So advanced is more about accuracy and about handling the exam pressure and the exam pattern on that particular day. From a coverage perspective, there is not much of a difference, which people tend to. I've always seen. I've seen so many students who are focused deeply on NCRTs only, but they were so thorough, so brilliantly thorough with their concepts, and they end up scoring good ranks in even JEE Advanced. So getting a good rank in JEE Advanced even today is not a problem, but you have to be very thorough with the exam temperament, how to basically handle the difference in pattern in JEE Advanced. Because JEE Advanced is, if you see the type of question that JEE Advanced cover, it will not be beyond NCRT by a long margin. Certain questions definitely, because it's a very prestigious exam, can be there, but again, they can be in the inspiration from the previous year questions also. But the difference, the biggest difference is the exam pattern. Every year exam pattern changes, and every year there's a surprise, and then students are not able to handle that particular thing. So if you develop your exam temperament in such a way and you're not overwhelmed, not, I would say, intimidated by that, then you'll definitely do that.
I think very rightly put here. So, I think you need to understand the basic difference between JEE mains and JEE advanced as well. And the preparation might be same, but there are, how you attempt the exam makes the whole difference, right? So let's move on to the next question now. Is it possible to secure 180 marks in JEE 2023 if I start my preparation now?
Again, as I was discussing earlier, I'll first of all answer this in Hindi and again come back to this in English. थोड़ा सा पेपर को ब्रेक करना है, मतलब आपको कहीं ना कहीं 180 मार्क्स करना है तो 80 केमिस्ट्री, 60 फिजिक्स और 40 मैथ्स का हिसाब रखना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज मैथ्स इज अ वेरी कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव सब्जेक्ट, उसमें बहुत अच्छी खासी डीप प्रिपरेशन चाहिए, तो कहीं ना कहीं उसमें थोड़ा ऐसा रहेगा। तो 180 का मतलब केमिस्ट्री में 80 तो लेके आना ही पड़ेगा, और उसके लिए क्या हो जाएगा, यू कैन नॉट लीव चैप्टर्स लाइक केमिस्ट्री इन एवरीडे लाइफ, एनवायरमेंटल केमिस्ट्री, वो सारी चीजें तुम नहीं छोड़ सकते,
Discuss before.
ठीक है ना। तो उनको बहुत इंपॉर्टेंस देना है। एनसीईआरटी थरो हो जाओ, एकदम अच्छे से पढ़ लो, एक एक कॉन्सेप्ट रट लो, 3-3-4 बार अपनी आंखों से निकाल लो, छोटे छोटे कॉन्सेप्ट, नेम रिएक्शंस, रिपीटेड क्वेश्चंस, इन सबको अच्छे से पकड़ लो। कोशिश करो कि केमिस्ट्री मार्जिन फॉर एरर कम हो, 80 नंबर वहां पे फिक्स हो जाए। फिजिक्स में 60 नंबर बहुत आराम से तो मैकेनिक्स और इलेक्ट्रोडायनामिक्स छोड़ के भी बना सकते हो, अगर तुम बाकी सारे चैप्टर्स को अच्छे से समझ पाओ। बच्चे डर जाते हैं मैकेनिक्स और इलेक्ट्रोडायनामिक्स से, और ये भूल जाते हैं कि बाकी चैप्टर्स की वेटेज भी उतनी ही है, और इनफैक्ट ये एंड चैप्टर्स की वेटेज अच्छी खासी है। मॉडर्न फिजिक्स तो भर भर के आता है, थर्मोडायनामिक्स बहुत पूछते हैं, वेव्स बहुत पूछते हैं, इन पे सीधे डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चंस आते हैं और बच्चे ये क्वेश्चन छोड़ देते हैं। तो ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। इजीली 180 नंबर आ सकते हैं, बट देन यू हैव टू पिक एंड चूज द चैप्टर्स, नीड टू फोकस ऑन द एरियाज व्हिच आर मोर स्कोरिंग एंड व्हिच आर easily manageable. I'll come back to that in English again now. It is definitely possible to score 180 marks even if you start preparing now. As I mentioned earlier, you have to basically strategize in a proper way. 180 should be broken down subject wise in such a way that you should be aiming for 80 marks in chemistry, 65 in physics, and rest from maths. Since the maths coverage is pretty vast and JEE mains, JEE advanced, the level of maths is not much different. Some of the papers in previous years, JEE mains paper were also very difficult in terms of maths. So this has been the case almost every year, I would say. So comprehensively covering maths in very short period might be a bit difficult. So try to focus more on chemistry because it's more scoring and it's easier to score marks in chemistry if we focus on the theoretical chapters like chemistry in everyday life, environmental chemistry, all these chapters, because straightforward questions come, pretty much questions get repeated. There's so many good questions there in the market in different books and stuff. So it is possible to cover these chapters comprehensively. Same with the case in physics. Focus on the less famed chapters, the thermodynamics, wave optics, ray optics, waves, fluids, modern physics. So they carry more weightage and the questions are much simpler. So this is the way you should strategize it. And definitely 180 is possible if you focus it in this way.
If you strategize, you can definitely achieve, 180 marks. That is what, Deepak has to say here. So let's move on to the next question. So how to do well in the first attempt along with school exams? I think
It is a very good question, Bacho. फिर से Hindi, फिर English.
You can just cover, I think cover it in English only.
I will cover it in English because I think we're running a bit short of time also. First of all, I think one thing that we have to strategize. Certain people think that there is more weightage of 11th in competition exam, less of 12th. That's not true. If you'll see the question-wise division, you will see that 12th is generally asked more as compared to 11th. But the problem is, a lot of 12th concepts are dependent on 11th. So that is why I say that 11th has more weightage. But in absolute terms of coverage, 12th has more weightage. So if you can strategize your school exam preparation in such a way that you can cover all these theoretical question chapters, like again I mentioned modern physics and waves in physics, all these end chapters in maths, and all these end chapters again in chemistry, the less famed or the more theoretical ones, then definitely you will have an edge. Because first of all, you'll be very thorough with your school preparation also, so you'll be less worried about it during the board preparation. And by reading NCERTs thoroughly and by practicing more and more questions around these concepts, you will be in a better frame of mind, in a better preparation mode for your first attempt also. So cover those chapters which have good weightage in JEE mains also and are important from the school exam perspective also. So marry them together in such a way that they come across as a good package for you. और ये बहुत आराम से हो सकता है, इट्स नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम एट ऑल, कोई मुश्किल नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं है, एक एग्जाम देने जा रहे हो, जो बच्चे अच्छे फ्रेम ऑफ माइंड में, दोज हु आर इन अ गुड फ्रेम ऑफ माइंड, हैप्पी go lucky kind of people, they'll score well, they will do well, they will always do well. Be happy, be in good frame of mind, spend good 30 minutes every day on a physical activity, watch any small serial that you love to watch, listen to music. Spending 30 minutes to 1 hour on your recreational activities is not going to take away anything from you. It will only keep you fresh, it will only keep you focused. But when you're preparing, give your best. And always believe that you are the best.
And also when you're attempting the test, that is when you have to give your best. So, and the temperament that you carry at that time.
And the biggest challenge, biggest thing that you have to understand is, if I tell you my case, I'm a dyslexic. So till my 10th, I was in a horrible situation when it used to come to preparation. I used to find it very difficult to even read chapters at one point of time. And even learning a language like English was a huge challenge for me. But I never believed in this aspect that I'm inferior to anyone. That is one reason I always pushed myself to the limits, and even certain times beyond the limits also. So if you have belief in yourself, you can do anything in life.
I think that sums it up all. So, believing, self-belief,
believe in yourself and push yourself beyond the limits.
You can even move the mountains if you can do it. So JEE
exactly.
It's just an exam, it's another exam. So I think that is the attitude that you need to carry here. So let's move on to the next question now. I have backlog. Okay, I think this question we've already covered. That how you can manage. Any other thoughts, Deepak sir, on this?
Again, the backlogs have to be very smartly managed. If certain chapters have not been covered yet, don't go after them. If they are not important for your school exams, you can maybe skip them also and focus more on those which are your strength areas. Okay, na? Like the Bruce Lee used to say that I'm not worried about 1,000 kicks. I'm worried about that kick which has been practiced 1,000 times.
Okay.
Yes. So this is the way it is true for every exam. Things which are in your recent memory, things which are thorough, things which you can even attempt at 3 a.m. in the morning are going to work for you. तो नींद में उठा के कोई बोले कि ये क्वेश्चन का आंसर क्या और हाँ एकदम आंसर निकल के आए, that is the way it should be. So focus on your strengths, that's it. No need to worry about the chapters which has not been covered. Maybe they were just not meant for you. You don't have to worry about them at all.
I think this is a very fresh perspective I think you guys would have got today. So don't worry, and we always tell this to our students, whenever they come to.
And this is the biggest problem, that students always burn these crucial months focusing on the weak areas. और पेपर में आके कुछ नहीं आता because वो पहले भी नहीं आना था. और ये बच्चों हमारी human psyche is such that once we create a certain, I would say, a problem towards a certain thing, we get intimidated by a certain thing, it stays with us for a significant period of time. If we are, I would say, haunted by ghosts since our childhood, so that's going to stay with us since long. So this is how it is. So if we get stuck with certain things in our head, it's very difficult to clear it. So if something is your weakness, it is very difficult to get rid of it. So we need to find a workaround. We need to go around that. We need to focus on our strengths. If we know things thoroughly and they are in our recent memory, and if we're able to convert them in our exams, will be brilliant. One thing that I'd like to suggest, what you can do from now onwards, whatever papers you are going to attempt, always maintain a register and divide the register into different chapters. So if any question that you attempt and you got stuck and maybe you needed a revision, note down that question or that concept in that booklet. What will happen after 3-4 months when you're going to prepare for that final exam? You just need to go through that copy for your final revision. And for example, if solid state like in next 4 months, we'll come across 20 questions in solid state, for example, I'm just giving that example. And out of those 20 questions, 5 questions have troubled you a lot. So you can note down those questions, concept around those questions in that diary. It will hardly cover 1 page. So 90 chapters would cover roughly 90 pages. And on final time, during the final revision time, it will hardly take a couple of days for you to revise all that. And those 90 pages will give you a complete picture about what has been your pain areas in last 3 to 4 months. So this is one thing that you need to really focus on. that always
Yes.
note down things which have been your trouble areas and try to focus on them only during your end preparation.
I remember Deepak sir having that notebook. I mean, that those notes, and they were circulated among so many batches against, all the neighbors.
And this should be your original stuff. You need not to
But
follow
that
anybody
didn't work.
else.
Yeah, didn't work for anybody.
Others. It will not never work because something which is your problem area might not be a problem area for others. So never ever try to copy anybody's notes.
Yes,
Make
what I want.
you don't even have to make very comprehensive notes. Just the questions which troubled you, hints, the small concepts around it. 1 page, at max 2 pages a chapter, nothing beyond that.
I think the very important point here. I think all of you should note down and start doing so. Just after you finish the webinar, I think the first thing you have to start doing is just take that notebook out and start maintaining it. Let's move on to the next question now. I think we've covered everything quite comprehensively here in all the questions. So, sir, I mean, I think the bottom point again here that has come up in all the questions that we've discussed and the questions that have come up from the audience as well has been that you have to first that you should not be focusing much on your weak areas now. This is not the time to focus on weak areas. Focus on your strengths, build them, and work around them so that you can maximize your attempt and score maximum marks through them.
Right. What one question that has come up: what area should we focus on while analyzing our weekly test results?
Very important.
Very important. First of all, if possible, try to prepare a chart and try to list down 4 to 5 different strategies that work for you. Like, first of all, one strategy can be that I begin with chemistry, then physics, then math. Second strategy can be I begin with only those questions which are my strength areas, irrespective of the subject. Like, for example, I scan through the paper, solve those questions which are low-hanging fruits for me, which I'm very thorough with, and then I move on to the relatively difficult ones, and then the problem-making questions or the problem areas at the end of the paper. If this strategy works for you, then you can apply this. Note down 4 to 5 different strategies and try to play around with them. Try to implement those strategies, and then after 10-15 tests, fix onto a particular strategy. That this is what has worked for me. This is what I'm going to basically stick to. And then for next 15-20 tests, just implement that strategy, build around that strategy, make small tweaks in those strategies so that when the final exam comes, you should be very thorough that this is what has worked for me, irrespective of the paper. And a good student would basically be very innovative when it comes to exam strategies. What they would do, they will pick up the paper, analyze the paper in first 5 minutes, and they'll be able to come up with a strategy for the paper. This is what they do. वो 5 मिनट में जज कर लेते हैं इस पेपर की का वेटेज क्या है, क्या गेम है. इसमें मैथ्स थोड़ी डिफिकल्ट आई है, उसे पीछे पुश करता हूँ. फिजिक्स इजी आई, उसे पहले कर लेता हूँ. केमिस्ट्री थोड़ी ट्रिकी है, उसे थोड़ा देख से करता हूँ. तो they come up with the strategy very quickly. So this is very important. So you have to basically see that what strategy works for you in every exam, and then you basically need to strategize on that. Because certain times what happens is, like, if you're banking on one particular subject, like the way I did it in case of chemistry, it can backfire on that particular day. So before you freeze onto a certain strategy, experiment a bit, and then finalize the strategy, fine tune it for the last part of your preparation.
Very important here. So, Deepak sir, I mean, if we have to say that, can we very rightly put it this way that, preparing for any exam for that matter, and especially JEE, is 50%, your studies, I mean, what the preparation that you do, and 50% strategizing your exam?
I think even more than that.
Or it's even more than that, yeah.
Exam strategy is even more than that, because I've seen very smart students over the years who might not be very thorough with the preparation, but they always knew that how to basically make the best use of whatever they need. They would always be on the edges when it comes to preparation, but they will always do well in exams because the exam handling would be really good.
That is important. So, I mean, the bottom line of all the discussion that we've had today is that cracking JEE exam is not a very difficult task. It's not a Herculean task as it is made to be.
I will repeat one thing once again. Like, you give so many hours to your coaching, to your school, to your preparation. But do we even analyze that how much time we give to exam analysis and problem solving analysis? Like, for a 3 hours paper, every 3 hours paper, it should be at least 4 to 5 hours of deep analysis attached to it. Only then you can come up with strategies. Even if like you give 4 to 5 hours, you'll end up giving hardly 100 papers. it'll like what, 400 to 500 hours of analysis, which is not very significant, which sounds, but it can, analysis means obviously visiting your pain areas also, referring to the theory, all those things, everything around that. It's not only the analysis means just to see what exactly is there, but also needing, also making the corrective measures around that. And if you'll do that, you'll definitely be able to perform well in your final exam.
Right. Is there any way to analyze the tests?
Definitely. For example, first question that always students say is sir, careless mistakes bahut hoti hai. So careless mistakes are basically categorized into three things. First of all, you ended up reading the questions wrongly. That is because your attention span is poor. So do what? Whenever you're reading the questions, try to underline the important information pieces from that question. For example, which of the following is not, if such a question is being there, so underline the not. So certain times students tend to miss these important informations and then they tend to fail. Second problem with the careless mistake is you have not practiced much. होता क्या है, बच्चे कहते हैं सर पेपर में ना क्वेश्चन देखा सा था पर हुआ नहीं. I had already solved it, but somehow in exam I was not able to solve it. I was able to solve it earlier, and after coming out of the exam I was able to solve it in a matter of seconds. That is because that question was not in your recent memory. That means you have not practiced enough. The recent practice of yours is not covering those type of questions. So your earlier memory is giving you the hints, like definitely your subconscious mind has the data that you know about this question, but they're not coming into your recent memory, and that is why you struggle. So this means your lack of practice is there. Third type of careless mistakes is calculation error. For that, burn your calculators away, don't use them, and try to solve every question by yourself. There are advantages attached to it. First of all, you will be more realistic in calculating the time you take to solve certain questions. Because certain times we tend to ignore this fact that the calculation part has been done by a calculator, not by us. Second is you start developing a lot of short tricks also. Everybody of us have fascinations about numbers. When we're doing mental calculations, mental maths, we tend to develop certain shortcuts. Like, for example, I'm a big fan of cricket. So my entire calculation would be around the table of 6 only. So I'll do all my calculations around that only. So I've tried to figure out a way where I've seen so many scoreboards, run rates, everything. So I try to use that data, that memory data, to basically do my mental calculations. I'm even able to solve log tables also with that. So maybe a video on that some other day. So it's very important to basically build that mental aptitude, that mental calculation part. So burn away your calculators, don't use it. So definitely those careless mistakes in calculations will go away for sure. And then another very important aspect is that we certain times get stuck with certain questions and tend to waste a lot of time. So when you're preparing for your JEE mains, you have to understand that engineers are also good managers. So all these exams are also testing that particular skill of yours, where it is very important to manage your paper also well. So you need not to be too egoistic about certain things. If certain thing is getting stuck, leave it and move on with it. So this is also you need to learn. That same question principle I said in the first part, 2 minutes, maximum 5 minutes, nothing beyond that. If it doesn't work for you, you should just leave it and should move ahead.
I think very important. So letting go, even in life, we talk about that. You should don't get stuck on things and move on, and, you need to move out of it. So I think most of the things that we've discussed today, they are always there. But once you get that, you hear it from someone who's already done that, been there. So it really helps. So thank you so much, Deepak, sir, for sharing all the insights and, strategizing it so well. And I think all the students who have joined us today would have gained a lot of information, and they are pretty much occupied and, to now implement these things in your strategy for the upcoming 4 months, the 4.5 months that you have with you. So if you, properly strategize according to the tips here. So,
and one thing I would like to add, this is a very important skill you'll be investing in. If in next 3 to 4 months, you are able to sharpen up your skills as far as exam temperament is concerned, take my word for that, this will be one asset for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Even if you have to prepare for any future exam, be it GRE, GMAT, CAT, UPSC, anything, this particular skill of yours will be there with you and will be the main striking difference. This is the reason why so many doctors and so many engineers, IITians also, they get into civil services and they crack so many different exams in the world.
Yes, it's not that you don't have to say that they're the best brains of the country. It's not about that. They know how to strategize.
They know how to basically strategize. It's not about brains. I've seen people who are multiple times more intelligent, but they are not disciplined. They are not able to channelize their energies well, and that's why they end up little nothing in life. So intelligence is one aspect, but putting that into use is the another aspect. So this is something you learn. तो अगले 3-4 महीने इन्वेस्ट करो, जान लगाओ, और कल यूपीएससी बहुत सारे एग्जाम्स में इसका फायदा होने वाला. तो जेईई मेंस ही नहीं, इट विल बी अ स्किल फॉर लाइफ. मेरे को लगता है जो सबसे बड़ी चीज बच्चा इससे सीखता है, और एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज याद रखनी है, प्रिपरेशन में एक इंजीनियर का सबसे अच्छा पॉइंट क्या होता है कि हम लड़ना जानते हैं, that we know how to fight. It will be a case that you might do well in a couple of exams, then you'll fail, and then you should be able to bounce back. So this is how the life is. And certain times you have to leave it to the Almighty. ठीक है ना, जिनमें विश्वास रखते हो उन पे छोड़ो. So leave it to your faith and believe that He has the bigger picture about you. तो वो कुछ अच्छा ही सोच रहे होंगे. So maybe the incline that you are basically climbing up is about to hit a plateau, and then it will be a downhill from there. So
you can't see it.
You can't see it. So just have faith and give your best.
Very important. I mean, to have that end note, and motivation that is needed for all the students right here. So thank you guys for joining us, and thank you Deepak sir for giving so many insights into how to prepare well and how to strategize your preparation in this last, I would not say last leg, but yeah, I mean the 4 months, the last 4 months that you have in hand, and how to maximize it to get the maximum score and the best of the rank that you can. So okay, so we have, I think, all right. So I think all the questions are also answered, and the time is also running out. So we have to now end it here. So thank you so much again, and all the best, everyone. And if you have any other queries that were not answered in this webinar, feel free to put it in the chat on any of our social media handles, and we will try our best to get back to you and get the answers from the experts, so that you're not none any of the doubts is not left unanswered there. So my classroom team here is signing off, and thank you so much, guys, for joining in. Good night and take care, and prepare well and crack your IIT JEE exam. All the best.
Thank you, Bachcho. Thanks a lot, and see you again.
Yeah.